Hey guys, it's Megan. Welcome back to the library today. I thought that since I'm here just for a work day anyway, even though it's in the middle of the summer, that we would do the mid-year book Freakout tag. I love doing this tag. I think it's really, really fun. I honestly like it better than any of the end-of-year tags. So let's just jump into it. The first is so easy for me to answer because the first question is, what is the best book you've read this year? And normally I would have trouble answering this question, but I've only had one 5-star read of the year. It is now an all-time favorite book, my favorite standalone fantasy ever, and that is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. This book is crazy. Just go into it knowing nothing about it except that the main character grows up in what she called this infinite library, forced to study at the feet of a man who might be God. It's fantasy, but it is partially set in the real world. There are other characters that like are regular characters that kind of get sucked into this crazy plot. And I just can't even tell you how amazing this book was. I want this author to write more and soon. He unfortunately has not written anything else. So I think it's from like 2016. So I'm really sad that he needs to write more. Apparently he's a computer programmer. So anyway, definitely #1 book of the year. No questions. The only 5-star book I've read this year. The next question is the best sequel you've read this year. So I did actually read a few sequels this year, but my favorite, it was kind of hard to choose, but it's something in this series. I'm going to go with Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Shauna McGuire. This is the second book in the Wayward Children series. The first one is Every Heart a Doorway, which I really, really enjoyed. I think I gave it 4 stars. I gave this one 4.5 stars, and it's what got me back into the series. I think I gave another one of the ones in this. I think I've read like 7 of the 8. There's 8 out right now. I think I've read 7. The 8th one just doesn't sound as good, so I haven't read it yet. Or is it I can't remember. Whatever the newest one is, I have not read yet. Of course, it's not going to tell me in here. I don't know why I'm even looking. But this is what got me back into the series. It's a novella. It's super short. It's like what would happen if, characters who go off to magical worlds like Alice and Alice in Wonderland, or Narnia or something, and then they come back and they have to live in the real world again. And some of the kids want to go back to the worlds that they had been to, and some don't. So they go to like different schools, and there's just like kind of a little, I don't know, like not really a magic system, but I mean, there kind of is a magic system in it. And I love it. It's so much fun. And this is the second one, and it got me back into the series. So I'm gonna have to say that one's probably my favorite sequel. Number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet, but want to. There are a lot, but I'm gonna go with, I guess I'll put it over here. The Malevolent 7 by Sebastian de Castell. I've never read anything by this author, but one of my booktubers, Jade from JD Ray Reads, it's like her favorite author ever. She goes on and on and on about the Greatcoat series, so I'm gonna have to try that series too. Ironically, one of my other booktubers I watch, Murphy Napier, hated the first book of the Greatcoat series. I'm pretty sure she said she didn't even finish it. She hated it so much, so I'm hearing some mixed reviews. Favorite author, DNFing it, I don't know. But this one sounds really good because they're all, I think they're all wizards, or at least like somewhat magical, and they are very morally gray. And that sounds amazing. I even love the title. Instead of the Magnificent 7, they're the Malevolent 7. That obviously makes it sound like they're bad right off the bat, and I think that sounds so much fun. So don't know much more about it, but I am definitely gonna read this one. Next is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and I have a few, but if I had to pick one, it's a book I've looked forward to for like 2 years now, and it is Silverborn, The Mystery of Morgan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is the, I'm trying to remember, fourth book in the series. I had to think about it for a minute. And I absolutely love the first 3. They are favorites of all time. I even brought my copy just to show you. This series is called the Nevermore series. And it's like Harry Potter. So if you like Harry Potter, I highly recommend this series. To me, it's the closest thing I've ever read to Harry Potter. And it's honestly probably better writing. Like the writing itself is so good. It's even kind of funny. The villain, I think, is going to be a little more morally gray than Voldemort. I mean, he is kind of just pure evil right now, but I just have a feeling that there's going to be some twists and turns with the villain, and that maybe that the main character and the villain are even going to have to like team up and work together a little bit. He's like the only one that can kind of like understand her power and help her. So I think that's really interesting. And other than that, I just absolutely love it. The only thing I don't like as much as I do in Harry Potter are the characters. Like, I'm just not as attached to the characters as I was in Harry Potter. But other than that, I think the writing is better, it's funnier, and it's so whimsical. So if you like Harry Potter, like, you have to read this series. So I cannot wait for Silverborn, which I think comes out in October. Yeah, sometime in October. Next is my biggest disappointment, and this was a no-brainer. The answer is How to Sell a House by Grady Hendrix. I still have my copy because I'm about ready to go like sell it. So I'm probably half-price books or somewhere, but I'm gonna go do that immediately. I just still happen to have it. But anyway, this book was terrible. I couldn't finish it. I think I got a little over 50%, and then I just skimmed it the rest of the way. Grady Hendrix is going more and more downhill for me, and I don't know if I should try him anymore. I loved My Best Friend's Exorcism so much. I gave it like 4.5 stars. It was so good. Like Stranger Things vibe, set in the 80s, love it. Then I read the vampire one, Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and it was good, but I didn't think it was quite as good as the Exorcism one. And then I read Horror Store, which was just meh, like 3 stars. Basically, they keep going down in star ratings for me. This one would be like literally a 1 star because it's so bad. It's not about how to sell a haunted house. I thought it was going to be like, how do you sell a haunted house? That'd be kind of funny. And that's what his books usually are funny and scary at the same time. 1, this was not funny, and 2, this was not scary. It was just silly and stupid and ridiculous because it's not about a haunted house. It's about puppets. It's about dolls, like little puppets. There's one named Pupkin, and it's just stupid and it's not scary. It's not about how to sell a haunted house either. Like, I thought that would have been a cool premise, but no, this is so bad, and I do not recommend this to like anyone. There's like one booktuber that actually seems to like this book, Alexandra from Alexandra Rosalind, or Lexi, whatever she goes by. I don't know why she likes it though, because everybody else I've talked to like does not like this book. My biggest surprise, I'm gonna give it to a book that I would never normally pick up because it's realistic fiction, but it was so much fun, and I wound up giving it 4.5 stars, and it was one of my favorite books of the year, and that is The Hotel Nantucket by Ellen Hildebrand. I'm a fantasy reader, and when I don't read fantasy, I'm reading like mystery or thrillers or something, maybe even middle grade, but I'm not reading realistic fiction like ever. So, and occasionally the random romance, I don't know why. But anyway, I picked this book up because Destiny Sidwell, she says that it's like a perfect summer read. It was beachy, but honestly, I didn't find it to be so much the beach vibes as I did like, I just really liked all the different characters because you follow everybody that works in this hotel, and their goal is to try to get like sort of like 5 stars instead of stars. They're called keys by this reviewer, and there's like a mystery reviewer that's going to come to their hotel, and anybody ever before has gotten like only 4 stars or below. No one's ever received 5 stars or 5 keys, and they're going to be the first hotel to do it. And so you're like, oh, are they going to do it or are they not? And who's going to be the mystery reviewer? Is it going to be one of the people that's staying there? Who is it? And there's a ghost, and I was like, what? I definitely want to read it if it's about a haunted hotel. Turns out there are chapters from the point of view of the ghost, and the ghost is actually like good. Like, it's not a bad ghost. So like, she's very nice. And I just thought it was so fun. I would actually read this book again. Next is a favorite author, and because I want to pick a different author, like I would say Scott Hawkins because obviously that was like my favorite book of the year. But honestly, I'd say I read 2 books this year by Holly Jackson, and I've read 3 of her books before, so I guess I've read 5 now, and 4 out of the 5 I've like really, really loved. So I love the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, and it's been years now, since like 2 or 3 years since I read it, probably 2 years, I guess. Good Girl's Guide to Murder, Good Girl, Bad Blood, and As Good as Dead, and I really enjoyed all of them. The 3rd one I thought was absolutely amazing and phenomenal, so because it gets like off the rails wild. But this was the little novella that is a prequel to A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I only read it because for Kayla's, from Books and Lala, her Buzzwordathon challenge, 1 month, I think it was maybe April or something, I had to read a book that had an emotion in the title, or like a feeling or whatever. So I did Joy, so it's Killjoy, and I'm so glad I read this, and I even ordered it here for the school library because it was so good. It really got me back into the world of like Pip and just the whole story of Good Girl's Guide to Murder, and I loved it, and I really want to read the series again. But she's a great writer, and her mysteries are just so good. I wish she would write like adult mysteries too. I think that'd be fun. And then I also read 5 Survive this year by her and liked it. It was not like my favorite. It was fine, but it was kind of wild too. It goes like off the rails at the end. So I think this is going to be a new author for me that I'll probably read more from in the future. Next question is newest fictional crush. And a lot of times I don't have one, but this year I do. I've joined the hype train, and I've read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, as has like everyone on the internet. So I don't have a physical copy because, as you might know, like you literally can't get one. Like, they just don't exist anymore. They're sold out everywhere. But I read it, and Zayden Ryerson, I think that's how you say his name. I listened to the audiobook. That's how the narrator pronounced it. He's like, bad boy, like super powerful, very much enemies to lovers. He wants to kill her at the beginning. And then of course they fall in love and have like this epic romance. And yes, it's very like steamy, but I absolutely love Zayden Ryerson, and he is my newest fictional crush. Next is just newest favorite character in general. So since I can't use the same one, I guess I'm going to say Mika Moon from, the one about the witch. It's right here on the screen. How do I not remember what this book is called? The witch. The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. No, I didn't just have to look that up. But yes, this book was also a surprise. I did not think I would enjoy it because it was listed as a cozy, like fantasy, but also a romance. And I don't like fantasy romance typically. I don't seem to like cozy fantasy either. So I'm just like, I can't believe I liked this book. But it was funny. It was very funny. The main character was funny. She was snarky and sassy. And yeah, her name's Mika Moon. How cool is that? So I'm going to say that she was my favorite character. And also, of course, I really loved this book. Next is a book that made you cry. I don't cry at books. Like, I think I've maybe cried at one book ever. And it was the 6th Harry Potter book. So other than that, I don't cry at books. But I think the only one that hit me like really emotionally was actually a nonfiction book, and it was How to Keep House While Drowning, and it was super short. Like, I listened to it in I think one day. I mean, the audiobook's like 3 hours long, and I think I listened to it on like 1.5 times speed, so it literally took no time. But I did like the fact that it let you know that, hey, even if you're not getting like everything done around your house, like, you don't have to feel like you have to do it. Like, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to let things be messy for a little bit. Like, you don't have to be go, go, go all the time. And I was like, oh, I resonate with that, because all I want to do is just like tidy everything. And it's like, no, just don't, just calm down. And it's okay not to clean it. And I was like, oh, okay, I could go to sleep with dirty dishes in the sink and it'll be all right. So I think it didn't make me cry, but I don't know. I really just connected with this book. The next question is a book that made you happy. And I'm going to say Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. I know I just said I don't like fantasy romance, but I actually really enjoyed this book. It was fun. It was just so lighthearted and like, I don't know, it's like it didn't take itself too seriously. There's just like ridiculous things that happen. I mean, it's almost like, I can't even describe it. I don't think I've ever read another book quite like it. It's just a fun romp. It's not trying to be a serious fantasy novel. So I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I did not like the sequel, The Ballad of Never After, quite as much. And there is a third one coming out soon, and I'll read the third one, but I think the first one's probably going to be my favorite. Next is favorite book to movie adaptation, and I don't have an answer for this because I've not watched any movies this year based on books. In fact, I've watched very few movies this year at all. Okay, we have 2 final questions. It may be more questions technically. I feel like every year I see different questions for this tag, but I just pulled them off of a past year's one, so maybe there's different questions this year. But anyway, this is the next to last question on my list is the most beautiful book you bought this year. I didn't technically buy it. I received it as a gift, but I would say I've seen other people use this exact same book, but there really is not a prettier book. A Day of Fallen Night by Samantha Shannon. Look at this. Look at this cover. Look at this dragon. Look at these colors. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful. Even the back with the hot pink and stuff on there too. There's no prettier book. It's also absolutely massive. It could be a weapon. Seriously, it's ridiculous. But I read Prior to the Orange Tree like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was fine. Like, I gave it 4 stars. I don't think it's the best like epic standalone fantasy book ever. But I mean, honestly, how many have I read that are standalone epic fantasies? I mean, I know Library of Mount Char is a standalone fantasy, but it's not like epic high fantasy set in another world. Part of it is, but not all of it. Anyway, Probably the Orange Tree was fine, but I hear this one is maybe better, although I just heard recently a review that said it wasn't as good. It didn't live up to the hype. Reagan from Peru's Project said that it wasn't like her favorite, but either way, was it Reagan? I think it was Reagan. Yeah. Day of Fallen Night. So it's the prequel to Prior to the Orange Tree, which I don't remember a whole lot about. Like, I remember the general premise about the dragon that is supposed to return and like destroy the world or whatever. I don't remember much else about it. But I think that you don't have to. I think you can just pretty much go straight into reading this one, even without having read the other book, especially since it is a prequel. So I've also got her other series, like the Bone Season, whatever that series is called. I've got the first one, the Bone Season, that I need to read too. So maybe I'll see if some other books will work for me from this author. But I love this cover. And lastly, I'm just going to rattle off a bunch of book titles here. I am too lazy. I'm thinking about future editing Megan, who does not want to pop up all these pictures on the screen. But the question is books that you still need to read by the end of the year. There are a lot of books I need to read by the end of the year. I've already read over 50 books and we're almost halfway through the year. So I'm going to guess I can get to 100. I guess my new goal is going to be 100 books, even though my whole goal originally was 50, because I was like, oh, I'm going to do other things this year besides read. And apparently not. So we just might as well go all in and see if we can get to 100. But since I still need to read like 50 books, let me just name some that I need to read. I need to read Strange the Dreamer, The Fall of Babel, the 4th book in the Sinless to Sin series, or the Books of Babel series. I've had that on my TBR for like a year, so because it's the last book, I just need to finish it. The Malevolent Seven, Elusive by Emily Lloyd Jones, The 100,000 Kingdoms by N.K. Jemisin, Throne of Glass, Daughter of No Worlds, Legacy of Ash, Shade City. Maybe it's at least on my radar. More books by David Mitchell. Special Topics in Calamity Physics by Marisha Pessel, because I pretty much read one of her books every year, especially around like Halloween time. Pages & Co. sounds good. Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I need to reread Vicious and then read Extraordinary, which is the graphic novel that comes in between Vicious and Vengeful. Hyperion, maybe. Gardens of the Moon, if I'm really just wanting to start a huge big series that may not go so well. I feel like there's like tons more. Like that's not even all of them. I have like a list, but I feel like there's way more. Yeah, that's just some, but it's like all the books basically. I just want to read all the books or all the ones that pop up on my radar. So anyway, hopefully you found this kind of interesting. Like I said, I love making this every year to kind of see where my interests lie and figure out, you know, where I need to go from here as a reader. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, what you guys think about them, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.